Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to the Big Mouth Daily. Today we're going to be asking, is the Snyder Cut Zack Snyder's definitive vision of his first Justice League movie? Let's not forget there was supposed to be a Justice League 2 and a Justice League 3. And we'll be kind of unwrapping the controversy around Spider-Man No Way Home. Half the fandom are not happy at all. And for the ones who are not happy and blaming Sony, I have news for you. So, is Zack Snyder's Justice League, Zack Snyder's definitive vision of this first Justice League movie? And we hope there's another 2 more coming. But we're going to have to keep on hashtagging and fighting for that. I don't think it is his definitive vision. I think it's as close as possible. Do I think it's the scary idea Zack was talking to us at SnyderCon about? No. I don't. I feel for example, let's look at the humour. You're not telling me that Zack Snyder wanted that kind of humour in the film in the first place. It's okay humour. I think these are the elements that Chris Terrio was talking about where he had to lighten up the script. He had no choice. He said he was okay about that. And I think there's another issue here. We go from Batman versus Superman, where Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne's Batman is dark, he's branding people, he's killing villains, to Justice League, where he's got faith. I think it's too much of a lighty-tighty jump. Lighty-tighty, where did I get that from? But I think, look, it just doesn't ring true to me how someone can be branding criminals and killing them and then pretty much working on faith. Now, a lot of people swallowed this and liked this. Now, I can love Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, but bring out details that I'm going to nitpick about. And for me, it went too far with, I've got faith now. I choose faith. No. I'm sorry, it's good. I believe this in a Justice League 2. Look, even Christian Bale's and Michael Keaton's Batman was still gruff. I mean, Keaton in both his movies was still a darker Batman. And, you know, Bale was still had that, I don't know, gravelly kind of exterior in all 3 of the movies, right? Now, I'm not saying that those versions of Batman are as dark as Zack Snyder's version of Batman and Ben Affleck's version of Batman, but I do feel that it just jumped too quickly. And as I say, it didn't ring true to me. So I think these are elements where, I don't know. There was a poll on Twitter asking, what Batman do you prefer, the Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice version or the Justice League version? I have to go for the BVS version, even though he's branding criminals and killing criminals as well. It just rang true to the kind of film and the kind of Batman that Zack Snyder was trying to give us. Now, when we go to the Ben Affleck Batman in Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, for me, it went too much the other way. And I think I do have problems with that. It's not just a nitpick, by the way. I just didn't find it believable. So what I personally would have liked to have seen, or what I would have done as a storyteller myself, it would have been some way in the middle where obviously he's kind of had this redemption because Superman sacrifices himself because of Superman's sacrifice. I understand that. So he's got to be a bit more friendlier. He's got to there's going to be a little bit more banter. And I get that. But there's no question a Zack Snyder movie can't pull off gags. I remember Man of Steel with, I think he's kind of hot, cringe, taking the woman's movement back 200 years. I know that wasn't Zack, and I know that was Nolan and probably more David Goyer. And there was barely any gags in Batman versus Superman because it worked for the type of world they were creating. I'm not saying there can't be humour in these movies, but it's at least got to be funny. I don't think that Chris Terrio is someone who can do funny. For example, Kevin Feige, with the MCU, what he's always done, he's brought in comedy writers to specifically write gags in that work. That's why the MCU can be genuinely funny, because they've got people writing these things that are genuinely funny, but they can still do the dark stuff and the emotional stuff as well. And I mean, Very rarely have I seen a funny DC movie. They're normally not that funny. I mean, Reeves' Superman was funny. Again, sometimes they went a bit too far, the funny end. They tried to be funny in Superman Returns. In fact, the two lads who wrote Superman Returns said it was the funniest movie they'd ever written. Well, I must have forgotten to laugh because your gags weren't funny. I think sometimes in life you've got to go with what the world is. And the DC world can be about, inspirational and heroic and all of that. But I just don't think it's as funny as the Marvel Comics universe. And it never has been, by the way. But you can still have gags. I mean, Shazam is a pretty funny movie when it needs to be funny, but it also can be very dark and scary and serious and emotional. And I think that movie got the balance right more than any other DC movie, because there are genuinely dark moments in the Shazam movie. I think the film has great balance, and I congratulate David F. Sandberg for that. So, yeah, one of the issues I have is that, this isn't Zack's definitive scary idea. He shot as much as he could. Even Chris Terrio said he was surprised that he got away with shooting what he did from their script, which is great. I would say this is 90% of Zack's definitive vision. But as I say, the lighter moments don't really ring true for me. But my main issue is what I've already said, is that, Batman going from, I kill people, I hate Superman, to, yes, I have faith now. Yeah, everything's cool, man. Everything's okay now. And look, you understand there was criticism about the darkness and starkness of Bruce Wayne and Batman in BVS. You understand that diehard Batman fans have this kind of situation where they didn't like Batman branding people and killing people, because the comics mainly, not all the comics, but the comics mainly have had Batman. I mean, people talk about Superman and his no-kill policy. Well, for a lot of the Batman graphic novels and comics, Batman also has had a no-kill policy. So you can understand, even though I didn't mind it myself because I'm not a comic book man, you can understand why comic book fans were saying this is a step too far. Jesus Christ, the guy's branding people and killing people. What he does to that guy who goes into prison, and it's his fault. He basically dies. Because Luthor uses the fact that Batman's branding people. And, Batman knows once he brands someone who's going to jail, that they're going to get killed anyway and get beaten up and stuff. And so I know people use the defense of, well, he's an older, grittier Batman. Listen, I don't have an issue with the film and what the film's doing. I personally don't have an issue with the branding and the killing. I personally didn't think it was a big deal. But what I'm saying is, you can't go from that to a more... He's so much lighter. He's got so much faith in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut that you have a situation where it's, as I say, it's not believable. And that's my issue with that. So, yeah, I think Zack did the best he could to make this his definitive version of his first Justice League movie. But there's some elements that simply don't ring true. I actually think if I feel that Bruce Wayne's Batman is the biggest victim of Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. I think the other heroes, I mean, Superman obviously has an arc through the other two movies. We don't see much of him, and that's an issue in itself. But that's what happens when you try and kill Superman in the previous movie and then try and do a rebirth story in the middle of a Justice League movie. And I've spoken about that, why that's flawed thinking in the past. But in terms of Ben Affleck's Batman, I think I expected a little bit more from him. I still expected Batman to still have, ultimately, a slight dark edge about him. All the best versions of Batman have still got some darker thing going on. And I like that. And I think one of the reasons they have the parademons in Justice League is so, they can kill parademons because they're not people, but they were people once, right? It's like the zombie thing. But I think that's one of the reasons. We just killed parademons, so it's okay, right? There is a controversial thing there to be discussed. Who should kill people? Who shouldn't? Wonder Woman can kill people. Wonder Woman kills people in the comics. She chopped Maxwell Lord's head off in a Wonder Woman graphic novel. I was actually hoping that's what she would have done in Wonder Woman 84, but we were never going to go down that direction with Patty Jenkins. No sword, no shield. We were going down the nicey kind of friendly approach. And that's up to the writer-director at the end of the day, what she wanted to do with her film. And for her, it worked. It was what she wanted to do. But I do feel that Batman was done a little bit of a disservice in Justice League. It's interesting to me, there's certain things in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut that I actually thought were Whedon's, and they weren't. And then there's this discussion that one of the bits from Justice League was going to be in Zack Snyder's Snyder Cut, and almost was in it. Now, that's a surprise, isn't it? So, it's interesting. It is very interesting what was done with Batman for me. And for me, personally, I think if he kept more of his darker core in the movie, it would have been a lot better for that character. But for all in all, as a film, Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut is an operatic, epic visual delight. And it works. It's one of the best comic book movies I've ever seen. There's no question about that. I just feel that maybe Batman was done a little bit of disservice. And I do prefer what they did with him in BVS. Now let's talk about the reaction from Spider-Man No Way Home. So Alfred Molina did an interview about his role in Promising Young Women. The subject went to if he was going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home, which is Tom Holland's third installment of his Spider-Man trilogy, directed by John Watts again. And John Watts, is it? I think it's John Watts. Anyway, he dished the dirt. People saying, oh, yeah, Kevin Feige isn't going to be happy about this. Listen, Feige wanted him to spill it, right? It just brings more hype. This film is going to be one of the most, I think if not the most hyped comic book movies of the year because of the rumours that are going on. You know, that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man's involved, that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man's going to be involved. By the way, Tobey Maguire and Raimi's first two Spider-Man movies are my best two Spider-Man incarnations ever. I just think they work. Even though Maguire is clearly older than a teenager, it still works for me. His performance is very youthful and beautiful. So for me, there could be nothing more exciting than continuing the third installment of Tom Holland's Spider-Man franchise with continuing straight off the bat from the moment Molina's Doc Ock kind of dies in the end of Spider-Man 2, or at least in the third act. But this has caused a lot of controversy. Now, people who are not happy about this are blaming Sony. No. I think Sony are happy about this. Listen, Sony liked what happened with their Spider-Verse animated movie. It worked. It was powerful. It was magical. It was a big success. Yes, and I'm sure Sony want to do the same thing with live action. But here's the thing. There's a partnership in terms of these MCU Spider-Man films with Kevin Feige. And if Kevin Feige didn't want this to happen, this wouldn't have happened. Kevin Feige is putting this together. Jesus Christ, do Sony run the whole of the MCU? Well, the MCU is going down the multiverse strategy just like the DCEU is doing. So, you know, this is, if you want to blame people, and I don't blame Kevin Feige or Sony for this, I thank them. I thank them profusely, or however you say the word, right? I'm really excited about this, right? Because as I say, the Raimi era of Spider-Man is my favourite. But you've got to look at the whole thing. Yes, Feige is doing a multiverse strategy for the whole of the MCU, and it's all going to be involved with Phase 4. Now, if you remember to Spider-Man Far From Home, you know, the multiverse was already mentioned. So Mysterio mentioned it. It's something to do with him. I know he was lying that he was from the multiverse, but maybe he was. I don't know. Anyway, it's pretty obvious even to see from the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, when basically, what's his name? Joe Jameson, or the editor of the Daily Bugle, whatever his name is. I can never say his name properly. I'm crap with names, ain't I? So basically, he's outed. We see a video on a headline. Jameson is kind of this news desk anchor, and Mysterio comes out and says that he's dangerous. Spider-Man is Peter Parker. It's out in the open. I actually think at this point they're not in their universe, and I've always thought that. Comment down below if you think I'm wrong and tell me why I'm wrong. Prove to me that this theory is pants. Anyway, if you agree, let me know. I love people who agree with me. Who doesn't like that? But this is not a dictatorship. Say what you want constructively in the comments down below. So I think we're in the multiverse already. So I'm really excited about this. It's clear that Garfield's Spider-Man is definitely in this. I definitely think that Kirsten Dunst, Tobey Maguire, everyone's involved in this film. Basically, you think about what they're doing with Andy Muschietti's Flashpoint movie. They're doing the same thing here, right? But why? Why are they doing this? And we've got to talk about this a bit more deeply, actually, before we ask why they're doing it, because I know why they're doing it in terms of Spider-Man and the future of Spider-Man. But I actually think that this could be Tom Holland's final Spider-Man movie. I think they're going to do away with his universe and his Spider-Man. I don't think it's worked. I don't think it's worked for all of the audience. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man is great if you're a kid, especially if you're a teenage girl. The teenage girls love Tom Holland. My niece loves Tom Holland. Tom Holland is a great Spider-Man, but unfortunately for Tom, he doesn't write, he doesn't lead the narrative of these movies. And for me, it simply hasn't worked. Because Garfield's Spider-Man and Raimi's Spider-Man, basically, they were for all ages and everyone. For me, it doesn't appeal to me. It appealed to me in Captain America Civil War. I thought he was amazing there. And he was the kind of Spider-Man I wanted to see. And one of the things was he was accurately the age of the character. And I thought that was great. Or maybe just a couple of years older than what however old Peter Parker's meant to be in Civil War. But he's a kid. And he looks like a kid. And he's a believable kid. And he's Spider-Man. He feels like Peter Parker and Spider-Man from the comics. And that's great. The issue is when we get to Homecoming and Far From Home. Is it Far From Home? Yeah, I think it's Far From Home, right? Even though I just said the title. Anyway, so when those two films for me just don't work. They're not bad. They're just not great Spider-Man movies. Now, that's my truth. It's not a universal truth. That's my truth. You may disagree. Again, let me know in the comments down below. So I think there is an issue with Holland's Spider-Man movies. They simply don't work. Now, in terms of box office, they've done really well. You could carry on spilling these movies out. But I just don't think they're happy with them. I think Feige realizes that they made a mistake in the direction they've gone with these films. But I think it's more about Sony. You probably got a point, you people blaming Sony, but I don't blame them. I thank them. You know, Spider-Man's very important to Sony Pictures because he is their bread and butter. He's one of the biggest, IPs that they've got. So they don't want him messed around with. So I think we're going to get more Tobey Maguire movies, and I think we're going to get more Andrew Garfield movies, and I think they're going to move away from Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Now, I don't know if that's true. It's just a little feeling. He could be killed off in Spider-Man No Way Home, or he could be trapped on one of these Earths. I think that's a more realistic thing, and maybe his MJ will be stuck with him as well. And it's just a theory, but I think that's the core reason they're doing this as well. I don't think this works for Sony. It's Feige who come up with this Tom Holland Spider-Man, and I think it's one of the few things within the MCU he's actually failed at doing. For me, maybe for kids it's great. Maybe he made it for kids, for young girls, young boys, and that's brilliant. That's pretty much what Donna did with Christopher Reeve's Superman. And as a young kid, I loved it. Maybe older people didn't love that version of Superman. Maybe they preferred George Reeves' version of Superman. I'm sure that was the case. This happens in every generation, and it's sad. I do feel that Tom Holland has been done a disservice in terms of the first two Spider-Man movies. As I say, they're okay. They're not bad movies. They're certainly not for me. I'd love to know what your feedback is about this. So I'm not upset about this. Now, one of the issues is that Doc Ock's sacrifice from Spider-Man 2 will be undone. I don't think that's the case. Now, I know he said he's Doc Ock again from the last movie, but he may just be saying that. It could be realistic that this is Alfred Molina as a Doc Ock from another universe, from another Earth. I think that's more plausible. So it's going to be interesting what happens, or something else. Maybe he's not totally dead at the end of Spider-Man 2, even though it looks like he's dead. And maybe just at that moment, the windows of the multiverse come crashing down and he gets sucked into another Earth, or the Earth where Tom Holland's Spider-Man is. That could be an interesting thing. But I think we're going to see a lot of live action versions of Marvel here, just like we're going to see in Andy Muschietti's Flashpoint. Not necessarily things that we've seen thus far in the MCU. So you could see Bryan Singer's X-Men actors and characters cameo in this film. I think it's one of those movies. And I think Doctor Strange has been confirmed for it as well. I'm surprised that Alfred Molina confirmed his involvement. Jamie Foxx kind of posted something on Instagram months and months ago, but it was taken down. So that's interesting. But everything these actors do, and they're doing it, they're following orders. They're not going out there leaking stuff on purpose. It's all part of the plan. I think one of the important things, especially for Sony, is for people to understand that this is not no ordinary Spider-Man film. And I think that is important for them. They want people to know that potentially this could be the best live-action Spider-Man movie of all time. Now, I don't know how much of Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield we're going to see in this film, or how much of Electro we're going to see in this film, Jamie Foxx's Electro. But listen, I think it's really, really exciting. And yes, it is creatively bankrupt. Let's be absolutely clear here. It's all creatively bankrupt, but Hollywood's been creatively bankrupt for many, many years. Even some iterations of films I saw as a kid, because we always talk about how our era was so much better than this era. Even that stuff was creatively bankrupt. Superman 3 and 4 were creatively bankrupt, right? There's a lot of sequels and stuff like that and franchises that are creatively bankrupt. I think nobody's ever been in any era of entertainment as creatively bankrupt as these people. But there's a political reason for that as well. But they are lazy. They're only interested in existing IPs. Look at the money, $465 million for a Lord of the Rings TV series for Amazon. So it just shows you how lazy these people are. They're quite happy to spend money as long as they get it back and then some. And so listen, if you're upset about what they're doing with Spider-Man No Way Home, that is your truth and you're entitled to feel that way. This is an open house here on Big Mouth. I don't dictate to anyone. But all I can do is speak my truth and tell you this is a very exciting movie event for me. I'm a big Spider-Man fan. I used to love the Amazing Spider-Man live-action TV series. It didn't last very long. Loved that as a kid. Spider-Man and his amazing friends. What a great animated feast that was. I wouldn't mind seeing a live-action version of that, by the way. How cool would that be on Disney Plus as a TV series? So this is something I'm truly excited about, and I think it's going to be terrific. So this is exciting. Zack Snyder auctioning tickets to Justice League. Justice is Grey charity screening. Screaming? No, screaming, please. Zack Snyder is auctioning tickets to an exclusive and extremely limited fan charity screening of Zack Snyder's Justice League Justice is Grey to benefit the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Like the 4-hour and R-rated director's cut now streaming on HBO Max, the black and white version of Zack Snyder's Justice League is dedicated to the memory of the filmmaker's daughter, Autumn Snyder, who died by suicide in 2017. Fans can now donate to AFSP before May the 3rd to win a pair of IMAX tickets to private Justice is Grey screenings in 3 cities, Los Angeles, New York, and Austin, Texas, exclusively on Prezio. As usual, you see, it's always just in the States, innit? And the international audience like us, myself, always misses out. As I've said, I haven't seen an official version of Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut yet because it is not available to me here in Cyprus. I don't have a multi-channel subscription deal, and that's the only place you can see it. It's kind of despicable in a way. The international audience and fans are always robbed. I want you to help me celebrate the release of the long-awaited Zack Snyder's Justice League. In partnership with HBO Max, I have teamed up with our friends at IMAX to offer you a chance to win 2 tickets to a private screening of Justice is Grey. Release of the movie reads a message from the from Snyder on Prezio pages for Los Angeles, New York, and Austin. We're only making 92 tickets available, 46 pairs, so this will be an extremely limited exclusive screening. Snyder adds proper COVID protocols will be in place for all 3 screenings on July 19th with the AMC Universal City Walk Theatre, Los Angeles, the AMC Lincoln Square IMAX Theatre, New York City, and the Bullock, Texas State History Museum. IMAX Theatre, Austin, operating under 25% capacity for the event. Masks and the hand sanitizer stations will be provided according to the Post. Winners are responsible for their own travel. Why doesn't that surprise me? To donate, visit the Prezio pages for Los Angeles, New York, and Austin, and donate at least $20 benefiting the AFSP. More entries can be unlocked at the following donation tiers: 2,000 entries, $100. 200 entries, $20. 500 entries, $50, or custom donation. Snyder previously revealed plans for a Snyderverse trilogy marathon in IMAX later in 2021, culminating in an IMAX screening of Justice League Justice is Great. And basically, if you want to know about AFSP, established in 1987, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is a voluntary health organization that gives those affected by suicide a nationwide community empowered by research, education, and advocacy. To take action against this leading cause of death, AFSP is dedicated to saving lives and bringing hope to those affected by suicide. AFSP creates a culture that's smart about mental health by engaging in the following core strategies: funding scientific research, educating the public about mental health and suicide prevention, advocating for public policies in mental health and suicide prevention, and supporting survivors of suicide, loss, and those affected by suicide in our mission. Both versions of the Justice League Snyder Cut are now streaming on HBO Max, so this is a great prize. But as usual, what you're going to see, and I love the Restore the Snyderverse, Release the Snyder Cut fandom, Release the Air Cut fandom. I love you all. I'm part of you. We're family. But what you're going to see with this little thing is you're going to suddenly see certain people, let's just say, who call themselves associate producers, who are going to have tickets automatically. This is what's going to happen. And as usual in this world, and this is what frustrates me, not just within our fandom, it's a stacked deck. Now, it makes no difference to me because I can't go to the damn movie theatre to watch this beautiful film anyway. But it's not fair that certain people will get tickets whether they give to AFSP. What is it? Is it AFSP? Let's get it right. It's AFSP. Yeah, that's right. Basically, some people will just get tickets because they will. Because they're part of Zach's kind of trusted inner circle. And for me, that's a little bit disappointing. But please donate if you're in America. You have got a big chance of being able to go to watch this. I wish I had that opportunity. I always donate to AFSP. It's a great cause, and I don't need a prize to do that. So whoever wins that, good luck. And I'm very, very envious of you. As we already know, Justice Con has been going on since Friday, and Joe Manganiello was one of the elite guests there, and he's been talking about his Deathstroke movie, and I think Jay Oliver was talking about the movie as well, because he was there as well. Jay Oliver is a great guy, really helped to fight to release the Snyder Cut, really exposed a lot of haters as well. It's great to see Jay over on Twitter in full force when people try and be smart. Anyway, Deathstroke would have killed famous Batman characters in Affleck's movie. Wow. Deathstroke would have killed some famous Batman supporting characters in Affleck's Batman movie, setting up a clean slate. Moving forward by Richard Fink of Screen Rant. Joe Manganiello reveals Deathstroke would have killed a few famous supporting characters in Ben Affleck's The Batman. Affleck's Batman film was first announced in 2014, but Affleck eventually stepped down from directing and acting in the movie. The project shifted into the upcoming The Batman starring Robert Pattinson, which will take place on another Earth separate from the DCEU. Well, it's important to understand it's part of the DCEU, but it's part of the DCEU multiverse, if you like. Many fans have wondered what the project would have looked like had Affleck stayed on board the project. With tidbits being released since the announcement, it was originally confirmed that Manganiello would be playing the main villain, Deathstroke, in the film, with a moment at the end of the Justice League setting up their storyline. It was recently revealed that Affleck's Batman film would have also introduced Batgirl into the DCEU, presumably setting up the planned Batgirl film the studio announced in 2017. In an interview at JusticeCon, Manganiello revealed more story details about Affleck's film and said it would have launched the deaths of some Batman supporting characters. He points out that these characters showed up in the films, hinting at characters seen in both the DCEU films and other staple Batman characters. While he clarifies the script was never finalized, these characters were set to die and the clean slate for the future films in early drafts of the project, Manganiello said. So this is what he says. Some of the regular Batman characters that show up in the films were not going to make it through. It would have been a cleaning house in a lot of ways. So then you ask the question, who were they going to kill off? Leto's Joker maybe? Some Suicide Squad characters that we saw in David Ayer's Suicide Squad movie? Some people we saw in Man of Steel? That's interesting, isn't it? While the characters aren't specified, the most likely candidates are Alfred. Yeah, Alfred. I've always thought they would kill off Alfred, right? Because the only way you can really hurt Batman, basically, because we know that his Robin's already dead, Dick Grayson. That's how you would really hurt him. But how do you hurt him and really break him? By killing Alfred, literally his literal father. While the characters aren't specified, the most likely candidates are Alfred and Commissioner Gordon. Alfred, who's played by Jeremy Irons in the DCEU, is one of Batman's most iconic supporting characters, given that he had already appeared in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice and Justice League. His death would have left an impact on the audience. Commissioner Gordon, who was introduced in Justice League, played by Jake K. Simmons, would be a death that would not only hit Bruce Wayne hard, but also his daughter Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl. Given Batgirl's role in the film, the death could have served as the inciting incident for her becoming a crime fighter. Yeah, this is what you call a proper interconnective universe, isn't it, really, when things like this go down? Killing off Alfred and Commissioner Gordon fits in line with the DCEU's tendency to kill off believed supporting characters to a hero's mythology, like Jimmy Olsen in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. While this would have generated a certain amount of anger, really? Their deaths make a certain amount of sense. Both Alfred and Gordon were major parts of the Dark Knight trilogy and were both major characters on then running series Gotham. The DCEU then could have made its version of Batman different than other big screen incarnations by going against tradition and embracing lesser known characters. The Batman films could have added a vast array of obscure Superman characters to the films to make the DCEU Batman exciting and different than what came before it. Right, that's the article, right? And here's my view on it. Listen, we've had copy and pasted Batman live action trilogies before, and it's great. And there's nothing wrong with doing something different. And I'm sure a lot of people would have been pissed off if they killed off Alfred and writing Commissioner Gordon. We didn't really see that much of Gordon to really care if he's dead. But the thing is, it's not that we know him as a character. He's an iconic character. Some people were upset with how they dealt with Jimmy Olsen, but this is what the DCEU is all about. It's always going to upset hardcore fans, and this is why it's very problematic in making it a crowd-pleasing, normie, mainstream audience kind of thing. That's why it's better off over at HBO Max as an offshoot, as an Elseworld thing. That's how it works. I don't think Snyder's movies were ever going to work as a centrally based film franchise that could please basically everyone. I don't think that could work, and this is why they're going down this different direction. But it doesn't mean we can't restore the Snyderverse over on HBO Max. Now over to the MCU. It's been an interesting few weeks for Wyatt Russell. Let's say that again. Been an interesting few weeks for Wyatt Russell, who plays John Walker, the new Captain America in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And here on Screen Rant, an article by Zoe Hulina, this is what Wyatt has to say. Wyatt Russell joined the MCU because he knew fans would hate John Walker. Wyatt Russell, who plays John Walker in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, reveals that he joined the MCU because he knew fans would hate his character. John Walker actor Wyatt Russell from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier has revealed that the reason he joined the MCU was because he knew his character would be hated by the fans. Russell made his debut in the Disney Plus series at the end of the first episode, titled New World Order, when Walker was announced as the new Captain America. Ever since then, Walker has not only been villainized within the series, but has been shunned by Marvel fans viewing it. Following the assumed passing of Steve Rogers, he hasn't passed, Chris Evans, titular heroes Sam Wilson, Anthony Mackie, and Bucky Barnes, Sebastian Stan have to struggle with losing a friend, while the rest of America struggles with losing their hero. The look on Sam and Bucky's faces as they watch Walker's dramatic introduction at the end of the first episode says it all. It was a massive episode. It was at the end of the first episode says it all. It was a massive disrespect to see Cap's iconic shield with such just donated to the Smithsonian by Wilson, immediately given to a new Captain America. The events of the episodes to follow reveal that Walker is no Steve Rogers. He's portrayed as an aggressive, impatient, and vengeful, which are all values that Steve Rogers morally stood against. And at the end of episode 4, the whole world is watching. Walker uses the shield to kill a member of the Flag Smashers in a Latvian town square after his sidekick Lamar Hoskins, aka Battlestar Clay Bennett, was accidentally killed. Sitting down with Esquire, Russell revealed that's what drew him most to the role, was knowing that fans were going to hate his character. For any actor playing a villain successfully can be measured by fans' positive or negative responses. As Russell says, that is how you know it is working. Check out the full quote below. Check out the full quote below. It's partly why I liked it. People were going to hate it. I knew it. That's the reason you do it. That's the point. You elicit that response and it's like, great, it's working. I'm the kind of person where the grey area is a place that you must live. If you don't live there, you're going to have a very difficult time in your life trying to figure out who you are, because you're limiting the kinds of questions you can ask yourself and ask others. What this character hopefully brings to people is the idea that there's a grey area in him, and that in life there's a grey area all around us every day. But this is the problem, Wyatt. I agree with you, by the way. We all are so many different things, and we are a grey area. We're good, bad, and indifferent. But these fuckbods, these pie-eaters don't get it. They actually think they're pure-hearted, perfect people. And these days they expect their characters to be all good and pure. And this is the problem with the reaction to this character, isn't it? I love him, and I think Wyatt's doing a great job, by the way. Marvel has never really seen an antagonist like Walker, which is another thing Russell considered in taking the role. As he explained, he really wanted to explore the character's grey area, a unique character dimension. Walker has, which attempts to display his human side in episode 5. True, when Walker is being stripped of all titles following the events of episode 4, he pleads that he was only doing what was asked of him, and what the US government trained him to do. Russell's portrayal of a broken man trying to justify his own horrific actions shows audiences that his character is struggling with finding a moral backbone, separate from what he was taught as a military man. Backbone's interesting, a moral backbone. I don't think any of us have got a moral backbone. Not really. This is another term this jaded generation who live via Google don't get. They don't understand real life because they're not living real fucking lives. Anyway, as the series approaches its final episode, fans are anxiously awaiting what Walker is going to do next, as his actions will be monumental for the end of his character's arc. In the post-credits scene of episode 5, Walker is seen frustratingly welding together and painting by his own version of Cap's shield. This can only mean an ultimate showdown between him, Sam, and Bucky, and the Flag Smashers is on the horizon for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's series finale. So very exciting, yes, I'm enjoying Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Not the best thing ever, not the best comic book, TV series or streaming series ever, but it's good. They're trying to do a Daredevil with this show. They're trying to make it dark and gritty. It kind of works and then it kind of fails at that. But this guy, this actor, has been absolutely fantastic, and I agreed with everything he was saying in this article. Back to the DCEU. Right, Harry Lennox wants to see a Martian Manhunter v Joker scene in Justice League 2. Harry Lennox says he wants to see his character, the Martian Manhunter, take on the Joker in a sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League by Josh Planisi of Screen Rant. Harry Lennox says he'd want to see Martian Manhunter take on the Joker in Justice League 2. Lennox played the DC Extended Universe's General Calvin Swanwick in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. many fans theorizing that his character was John Jones, aka the Martian Manhunter, in disguise. Snyder's 4-hour cut of Justice League confirmed this via a pair of scenes, including one where the beloved hero visits Bruce Wayne, Batman, following the nightmare sequence. The Snyder Cut contains more characters than its theatrical counterpart, perhaps the most unexpected of which being Jared Leto's revitalized Joker appearing in an apocalyptic future where Superman has succumbed to the anti-life equation. The scene between him and Batman and other members of the League allude to plans for the since-abandoned Snyderverse. When Bruce Wayne awakens from his nightmare, he's visited by the Martian Manhunter, who tells Bruce there's a war coming and that he's here to help. In a JusticeCon interview, Lennox was asked what member of the League would he love to get a chance to interact the most with and what DC villain he would want to take on in Justice League 2. While saying he'd enjoy interacting with Wonder Woman and Superman because it would be great to see that relationship develop, Lennox spoke on the decision to visit Bruce Wayne. Martian Manhunter appears interested in those who aren't metahumans, something that translates to the actor's desire to see his character take on one of the most twisted individuals in comic book history. I'd like to take on the Joker in some way, you know. What I mean, I'd pick the Joker rather than those kind of otherworldly ones. The Joker is just a nutbag who would be very interesting to take on. Beloved or not, Martian Manhunter and the Joker have gone head-to-head in the comics before, literally in JLA 11. When battling the Injustice Gang, also set up in Snyder's Justice League, Martian Manhunter shapeshifts his mind to think like the Joker and begins to think like a supervillain. Then in JLA 15, 1998, Martian Manhunter uses his telepathic power to manipulate the Joker's brain to retrieve the reality-warping Philosopher's Stone, which the Clown Prince of Crime has used to create a 10,000-mile-long grin from South America to Asia Minor. During Martian Manhunter's manipulation, the Joker is momentarily cured of his insanity. Now, that is an interesting concept I'd like to see in live action. Martian Manhunter has described the Joker's mind as a storm raging in the past. It would be extremely compelling to see a character with an affinity for humanity who is clearly skeptical of being like Superman attempt to dissect an adversary that epitomizes our moral and philosophical pitfalls, the mind itself being a slippery slope as superpowers. Arguably, even more than Batman, Martian Manhunter understands his team members and their rogues galleries. Lennox would have certainly played a major role in sequels to Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like Leto, whose Joker made a truce with Affleck's Batman, Lennox's character has a stake in the world Darkseid seeks to conquer. That said, it's unclear if Martian Manhunter is even still alive in the Nightmare timeline. Regardless, reluctant friend or foe, fans would love to see Martian Manhunter and the Joker in Justice League 2. Yes, that's great potential, and those two graphic novels are absolutely fantastic. Imagine a situation of Martian Manhunter stripping the Joker of his insanity. What kind of person would he be? What kind of person could Jared Leto display him to be? Very, very exciting questions. You never know. We may see it. And we may, just may, restore the Snyderverse. Now this is really exciting. Zack Snyder's Justice League concept art shows a close-up look at Kilowog. New concept art of Kilowog as Green Lantern in Zack Snyder's Justice League shows a close-up look at what the character would have looked like by Brittany Bailey. So there's a little peek of him there if you can see him. He looks amazing. There's a better picture later on in the article. We'll take a look at that as well. A new concept art image shows a close-up look of Kilowog as Green Lantern in Zack Snyder's Justice League. The Snyder Cut brought together many of DC's iconic superheroes like Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, The Flash, Cyborg and Aquaman. Snyder even made sure to introduce the Martian Manhunter for a few short scenes. The movie also includes the Green Lantern, however, it is not the iteration of the character that some would have expected. Snyder initially had plans for both Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart to make an appearance as Green Lantern in the Snyder Cut, but those plans did not totally come to fruition. Instead, viewers got a brief blink and your missing appearance of Kilowog as an Easter egg. In the scene where Cyborg has a vision of the Nightmare timeline, Kilowog is seen lying among the dead in the Hall of Justice. His face is obscured by shadows, so audiences don't get a good look at him. Thankfully, Justice League concept artist Gerard S. let's say that name properly, Morantz recently posted a clear look at the character on his Instagram page, where he sometimes posts his work on the Snyder's movies. The post features an image of Kilowog in a shiny green suit with the Green Lantern emblem on his chest. Kilowog's face resembles that of a muscular humanoid pit bull. On his head is a green eye mask to match his suit. Check out the artwork below. So this is a much better look at it. Look at that. Doesn't he look fucking gorgeous? He looks amazing. I love Kilowog as a character, and I love this character's look. Amazing. Brilliant. You should check out the Green Lantern animated series. It really is a great piece of work. So this is what the artist has to say. Well, we don't see poor Kilowog for very long in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I had an incredible time working on him with costume designer Michael Wilkinson. Kilowog is one of my favourite DC characters, and I've always wanted to see a version of him leaning more towards Pitbull than Pig. I hope we get to see this guy in action one day. Yeah, and I totally agree. And why we couldn't see more of him, I don't know. I suppose that would have made like an 8-hour movie, wouldn't it? But, you know, it would have been awesome. Hopefully, in Green Lantern Corps, we can finally see him. Unfortunately, the Snyderverse will not continue as explicitly stated by Warner Brothers. However, potential sequels to Zack Snyder's Justice League would allow Snyder to further explore the Green Lantern Corps. As he previously wanted to, Snyder left so many open-ended possibilities in Justice League that it is clear that he could expand upon those stories one day, including Green Lanterns. Kilowog will be featured as one of the main characters in HBO Max's upcoming Green Lantern series. That's good to hear. Which came as a surprise to many eager fans. While no actors have been cast yet, HBO Max has already stated that multiple iconic members of the Green Lantern Corps will star alongside Kilowog. Some of these members include the Golden Age Green Lantern, Alan Scott, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, and Guy Gardner. Basically, the best iteration of the Green Lantern Corps. Not much else is known about the show as of yet, but fans can still enjoy as many rewatches of Zack Snyder's Justice League as they please on HBO Max right now, if you have access to it. And if you're not in America, you don't. And that's life. But anyway, stop being negative, Mick. He just looks brilliant in this artwork. He's a great character. Really, I think the Green Lantern Corps are the most accessible kind of part of the DC IP. They look great. They're Space Rangers. They're awesome. Done in the right way, they could be awesome. I'm sure Zack would do a great job with them. But this Green Lantern Corps streaming series that's going to be on HBO Max, I can't wait for. It's going to be awesome. So Ray Fisher says there's still a chance for him to be in the Flashpoint movie. Now, we've heard this before, so let's listen to what he's got to say. What it would take for Ray Fisher to play Cyborg in the Flash movie, by Brittany Bailey of Screen Rant. Ray Fisher finally reveals what it would take for him to play Cyborg again in the Flash movie after a long and complicated feud with Warner Bros. Ray Fisher finally reveals what it would take for him to play Cyborg in the Flash movie. The feud between Warner Bros. And Fisher has been long and complicated and messy. Nobody in this situation has really emerged unscathed or undamaged. This is true. Even after Warner Bros. Investigation, the issue at hand still has not been fully resolved. Due to this strained relationship, both Fisher and Warner Bros. Have confirmed that Cyborg will no longer be returning for any future DC films. This all started last summer when Fisher announced on Twitter that Whedon has been abusive on the set of Justice League. He also mentioned former DC President Jeff Johns and producer John Berg as problematic constituents, akin to Whedon. Eventually, he even included DC Films President Walter Hamada in these accusations, and that upset me, by the way. At the time, Warner Brothers denied such accusations. However, only a few months later, Fisher started talking about blatantly racist conversations held by the WB executives. Not Walter Hamada, by the way. This forced the studio to hire a third-party judge to investigate these claims. Unfortunately, Fisher then went on to accuse Hamada of interfering with the investigation. Warner Brothers has continued to deny such allegations. And by the way, in his Hollywood Reporter interview, he admitted that Hamada wasn't literally blocking the investigation. Ray went after Walter Hamada. Ray was wrong to go after Walter Hamada. Still, according to Fisher, he would be willing to make amends with Warner Brothers if it meant that he could return to play Cyborg in the Flash movie coming out next year. In a recent interview at JusticeCon, Fisher was asked what exactly it would take for him to play the Cyborg character again. As it turns out, he still wants some accountability from the studio, stating the following. I think where we can start is an acknowledgement and apology of what is clearly public publicly known to be an issue. I think that's where the accountability begins. And that's the problem, isn't it, Ray? Where the accountability begins. Where does it end, Ray? On their bended knees, begging for mercy? I'm sorry, Ray. You said accountability over entertainment. And if you lost your career and your career was damaged from it, you said so be it. But now you want your job back, don't you? That's the truth. I don't think it will be that difficult for Ray Fisher to get back in the Flashpoint movie. But here's the thing. He has to meet them halfway. This is the thing. In an argument, both sides are 50% to blame. Simple as that. I back Ray in what happened on the Justice League reshoots with Whedon and other situations. I back him. He did a very brave and awesome thing. He got an investigation, and that was great. But his targeting of Walter Hamada was very, very toxic and very, very wrong. And then coming out stating he would not work on a production involving Hamada was the biggest mistake that he made. It was an emotional response from Ray that he should never have made. And I think it might be him who might have to apologise to Walter Hamada. Otherwise, we won't see him in Flashpoint. The Justice League fallout and the claims made by Fisher continue to paint Warner Brothers in a bad light. Both parties are eager to move on, but according to Fisher, that cannot be done until Warner Brothers publicly apologises. This is not likely to happen since Fisher is still largely an unknown name. It will be pretty historical if a major Hollywood studio bowed to the demands of a novice by airing their own wrongdoings in the process. If Fisher's claims are true, then someone should be held accountable. But with the investigation over, finding Warner Brothers to be incorrect, nothing is finding Warner Brothers to be innocent. But with the investigation over, let's say that again, finding Warner Brothers to be innocent, nothing is going to be happening for a while or never. They don't care. If he doesn't want to be in it, he doesn't want to be in it. Do you know how many cyborgs there are in the multiverse? Come on, let's not be dumb here. Yeah, everybody loves him. He was great. And it's sad and it's damaging on both sides. But if both these parties don't come and meet each other halfway, nothing's going to be sorted out. And I can't see anything being sorted out. And if Ray isn't willing to compromise, he's not getting back in the film. And that's up to him. It's his argument. It's his war. It's up to him. But to expect Warner Brothers to apologise publicly, I'm sorry, my friend, you've got more chance of seeing flying sheep. If Cyborg were to appear in The Flash, then perhaps the Snyderverse could live on in some way. Snyder may no longer be asked to return to the DCEU, but some of his characters and original plans may live on regardless. Reportedly, Cyborg was initially supposed to have a major role in The Flash, so his absence could alter whatever plans DC originally had for the movie. Nevertheless, this is still an ongoing story, so look out for more news on the situation. Look, it is interesting. I would like nothing more than to see Ray Cyborg in this Flashpoint movie. Because as I said yesterday with my exclusive about Henry Cavill signing up to being in Flashpoint, the rest of them are going to be in it. So it's going to look a bit dumb. They haven't sacrificed their careers for this. Why is he? Because he wants to make political commentary, right? And this is the problem. Do you want to be an actor? Do you want to be an actor, or do you want to be a social speaker about what's going on in this world and what's going on in Hollywood? You can't do both, Ray, because they're not going to put up with it. It's as simple as that. That is the real world. Now, I spoke to a young woman called Rachel who's going to be in, what's it called? Shazam! Fury of the Gods, that's it. And we had a little bit of a disagreement because she was talking about some director getting away with something. And why is it that people of colour, blah, 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 lose their jobs? So I quote-tweeted her, made a joke of it. She didn't like it. And she said, I'm trying to make change. Just because it's always happened doesn't mean we can't try and create a new normal. And I said, what's happened to the bodies? I replied to her. Now, she did this big statement, replied to me. She got lots of likes from all her little fans, right? So I responded quite nicely, quite politely. I like Rachel. I think she's a good actor. She's going to be in that Steven Spielberg biopic as well. So she's doing well for herself, and I can't wait to see her in Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I said to her, where are the bodies of the people who have spoken out in the past, right? Hollywood is a place full of false diversity, right, and representation, where the most represented minorities are represented and the rest of the people are left behind. That's why I said to her, did I get a reply? I also mentioned Native Americans. It's funny, isn't it, when they start screaming about people of colour, they're very, very bolshy, and they talk about representation in terms of people of colour, the most represented minority in Hollywood, by the way, and in all industries. But mention Native Americans, they're like Homer Simpson backing into that hedge, right? So, yeah, all these people, right, it's interesting. They talk about fighting for a fairer Hollywood, but is it a fairer Hollywood, or are they fighting for their normal, what they think should be the real world? And sometimes what these people think should be the real world could be a more dangerous world than we already live in. It's simple, Ray. You want to be in Flashpoint? Don't expect an apology. Just go up to Walter Hamada, shake his hand and say, maybe I could have been less aggressive about you, Walter. Maybe you were wrong. You were wrong to want me to throw Joss Whedon under the bus and let Jeff Johns get away with it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's in the past. I want to be involved. Can I be involved? And then we'll see what happens. You've got to come to the table. And if they're not willing to meet each other halfway, then nothing's going to change here. So we already knew that there was a Green Lantern of colour, aka John Stewart, in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, but Warner Brothers Pictures wanted him cut out. So Zack came up with a kind of compromise where John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, aka Harry J. Lennox, would be in, and John Stewart's version of Green Lantern wouldn't be. Very, very sad. So we knew the actor's name. I forgot it right now, but I'm going to read it in a minute. So here's the article from comicbook.com. by Adam Bernard Art. I think that's his name. Zack Snyder reveals Green Lantern actor from Justice League deleted scene. Last month, Zack Snyder's Justice League zoomed to HBO Max, revealing the director's ultimate vision of the movie to the masses. Or so he thought. While it's been billed as a cut of the movie featuring exactly what Snyder himself wanted out of the project, it turns out that wasn't entirely accurate. One of the new scenes he shot once the streamer greenlit the project involved the introduction of a present-day Green Lantern, John Stewart to be exact, but the moment didn't make the final version on HBO Max. Now, Snyder has confirmed that Stewart was played by an actor named Wayne T. Carr. That's him. Someone who was referred to the filmmaker by Justice League star Ray Fisher. The concept art was based on the actor who did the scene for us and was a guy named Wayne T. Carr. He's an amazing actor, an amazingly kind gentleman, Snyder revealed during a virtual appearance at JusticeCon. He added, I told him that there was a chance it didn't make it in the movie as we were shooting it in my driveway, and I'm not 100% sure he thought it was real. I was talking to him the other day and he was just excited about it. He loved the movie and he was super excited for the reception the film has gotten, and he's just completely gracious. News of Green Lantern appearance first slipped earlier this month when concept art Jojo Aguilar shared the visual development art this production team was using for the character. So this is interesting, and we've already seen the pictures already. He looks great. I'm glad he's happy that he did it. But this was shot in Zack's driveway. Could this have been Warner Brothers' reasons for not wanting to use it? Maybe they thought that was problematic. Maybe a director shooting something in his driveway has maybe some union wouldn't be happy about that. There may be other problems to this. And I know we're talking about, another POC being cut from this film, which is not good, by the way, but maybe there are other reasons why it was cut. We don't know all the facts. It's not good. It's disappointing. But in life, we do need all the facts before we lose our shit. But I'm glad that Zack's mentioned the lad. I hope we see it one day. Maybe we'll get the, what's his name? I'm crap with names. Always remember that. Wayne T. Is it Wayne T. Cut? Let's hope we get the Wayne cut. One day we get the Wayne T. Cut of Zack Snyder's Justice League and we see his John Stewart Green Lantern in it. Wouldn't that be awesome? Or Zack Snyder's John Stewart Green Lantern movie with Wayne T. Carr. That would be awesome. Wouldn't it? Get hashtagging. Oh, Dom Purcell is hilarious. Dominic Purcell obviously played Lincoln Burrows in Prison Break, and he also is in DC's Legends of Tomorrow. He came out with this wacky Instagram post saying he was done with Legends. He said the C word alluding to Warner Brothers Television. He really went for it. He's now deleted this Instagram post, and here are the details. Dominic Purcell clarifies his status with Legends of Tomorrow and the studio. On Saturday, DC's Legends of Tomorrow star Dominic Purcell announced he'd be leaving the series after 6 seasons. In his initial post, Purcell sounded as if his departure was the result of tensions with the studio and he wouldn't be back under any circumstances. Since then, Purcell has deleted the original post and replaced it with another Instagram post using the same photo that clarifies his status with the series and studio, claiming he was messing with press outlets originally. Purcell now says he's departed Legends of Tomorrow as a regular, but has a handshake deal in place to appear as a guest star in the future. I wonder if that's ever going to happen. Why so serious? My last post, I needed a laugh. It was a joke, and the press went nuts. And yes, I will always fuck with the press. It's fun watching them be clickbaited. Truth is, yes, I am leaving CW Legends of Tomorrow, but will come back periodically. It's a handshake deal with my boss, Phil Klemmer. I don't have a beef with studio at Warner Brothers TV. I don't have a beef with anyone except myself. Ha ha ha. Shit woke up this morning like I'd cause mass riots, emails, phone calls. But what a genius negotiation move. I am love. P.S. My dear friends, the press got a great one for you next week. You're gonna love it. Oh. Isn't he brilliant? It's great to mess with the press. Come on. I mean, we're all sitting there on social media waiting for some shit to kick off all the time. It's funny when people within the industry mess with us, right? Because it's funny, because we're all looking for some shit to stir all the time. And it's about time we got a taste of our own medicine. So Dom Purcell, I applaud you. And anyone who's met or knows Dom knows he's a big joker. So it was great. When I first heard about this yesterday, I thought this can't be real because this is nuts. And let's just say I kind of suspected this was Dom playing a little bit of a prank. And thankfully, it was a prank. A really funny one. That's a long-ass episode. I'm sorry. The upload's going to take forever. Anyway. Right, finally today, Billie Piper has said she'd love Helena Bonham Carter to replace Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor when Jodie finishes her tenure as the Doctor in the end of the next season. Listen, there's nothing more that I would love. This is what I mean. It's not about who plays the Doctor, what gender, what kind of person, what background it is. It's about having the right man or the right woman play it. The person that's going to do this role justice and give the role the gravitas it deserves. Guess what? Helena Bonham Carter is fucking amazing. It doesn't matter how shit the writing's going to be. She'll make it good. I would love this. Inject Helena Bonham Carter in my veins. Is that possible? Do physics and biology allow that? Everything this woman, this lady has done has been sensational. I would be so proud if one of my favourite fictional characters was played by Helena Bonham Carter. So I would absolutely love that. That's Billie Piper's pick, and I think it's a great pick. Put Billie in charge of the casting for the next Doctor. Who knows who it's going to be? It could be, I don't know. And look, it could be anyone. It could be a pre-existing character version of the Doctor that we already saw last season, as you know. The Ruth Doctor, she would be awesome as well. But Helena Bonham Carter, you don't get better than that. And I tell you what, it would bring confidence back to the IP in the series because it's lost a lot of faith in it. Chris Chibnall hasn't done himself any favours. And it's as simple as that. And just before I go, I was thinking about this the other day. I remember watching the Meghan Markle Prince Harry Oprah interview, and Meghan was talking about it's important that we see ourselves on television and in film. And I thought this was interesting. I don't think it is important that we see ourselves on television through representation, right? And inclusivity. I don't think that's what it's about. I remember watching a little show called Quantum Leap. And Dr. Sam Beckett and the actor who played him, Scott Bakula, he wasn't a Greek Cypriot. But I aspired to be Sam Beckett. That's what these fantasy stories are about, whether in movies or TV. It's aspirational. Black people aspired to be Sam Beckett. Women aspired to be Sam Beckett. Some of them even aspire to sleep with Sam Beckett, right? But that's okay, cool. But not in this generation. You can't be like that. It's wrong, right? But anyway, It's aspirational. So we don't actually need to see ourselves on the screen, whether television or film. Does that mean we shouldn't have different creeds and colours and races performing? Of course we should. Of course we should. But these people involved in entertainment are taking it too far. What about the representation boss at the BBC who doesn't feel Luther is black enough because he doesn't have black friends and he doesn't eat African food? Isn't it good that Luther has white friends? Don't we want white people and black people to get on and be friends? What's going on? But this is the point that I'm going to end with. These fictional storytelling worlds and characters are aspirational. And it doesn't matter if you're a black person looking at a white person, or if you're a white person looking at a black person, or if you're a Greek Cypriot looking at an English or an American character, you can still aspire to be them. I'm thinking about, innocent times when we used to watch shows like The A-Team. You wanted to be Faceman or Hannibal Smith. It didn't matter that they weren't Greek Cypriots, or they weren't black, or they weren't Asian. It didn't matter. It didn't matter where we came from, who we were, what colour our skin was, what our backgrounds were. We still aspired to be those people. Don't allow these nut jobs to take away the magic of watching something, no matter who's representing the characters we look up to. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more Big Mouth Daily. See you again soon.